kaiju, turtles, Dragon Ball, and more. It's Steven's Toy Reviews. Hello there, collectors. It is Steven here, and I am bringing you an anomaly that we're going to talk about after the intro section here. Today, I am bringing you a mysterious Ready Player One Mechagodzilla figure. Yeah, where did this come from? It just kind of popped up overnight, shipping out of China, and it's here. No one knows where it came from, maybe, and it's here. It's legit. We have it in hand. Folks are going crazy now that it's confirmed to actually exist, and people are clamoring on the aftermarket. Available originally at AliExpress, or AliExpress, you know what I'm talking about, and grossly overpriced on eBay. Fans are clamoring to get a hold of what is effectively a piece of Godzilla history, even though it's Ready Player One. So is this going to be worth the purchase, or is this something you should clearly stay clear from? Yeah, I wanted to use clear twice. Let's take a look to see whether or not it's worth adding into your collection. Before we jump into the review, I want to talk about what this thing is. We have three parts here: what we know, what is coincidental, and what I thought about before what we knew. All right, so I saw that the designer for the Ready Player One Mechagodzilla, Jared Krajewski, I'm sorry if I butchered your last name, I'm bad at English, so I think that I get an A for an attempt at least. Anyway, he was getting one sent out from the maker of the figure. That's what he tweeted out. So I asked him, and he said the guy who made this from the ground up, brand new, goes by Lucky and sells them. Sold out at the time of the review on AliExpress. So from what we know, this is an original figure, no bootleg, no knockoff. This is a genuine third-party figure like Jungle Lord. Cool. Now, coming up, I'm not going to say that Jared is not telling the truth. I don't believe he has any reason whatsoever to lie, because he's telling us what he knows. All right, cool. I do want to address a few things I noted before I learned that information. I do find it odd that, one, NECA had the Godzilla license for quite some time, and even during Ready Player One's production and release. 2, NECA had a Kong figure ripping and roaring and ready to go while Godzilla vs. Kong was in production, and while not the MonsterVerse version, it was a generic enough one that the eventual master license holder, Playmates, wouldn't be able to touch it and say no go. Also a note, apparently Randy mentioned he wanted to do a Mechagodzilla from Ready Player One's life cycle in theaters at some point. I wasn't able to see it, somebody told me that, I don't know. Anyway, 3, it takes 12-24 months or more to get figures prototyped, approved by licensors, produced, shipped to stores, so on and so forth, even for a small operation. It doesn't just happen overnight. And 4, whenever this has been listed, it's been listed either by itself or admittedly even with one non-NECA product, it's always listed with other NECA Godzilla figures of questionable legitimacy. I find this overall information, this is the third part, a bit suspect prior to learning the information from Jared. Especially with this one just giving off NECA vibes. But apparently Lucky made it, which again, I have no reason to believe that Jared's lying. That's his story. Anyway, on to the review. Name of the game is transparency. Technically, I used clear at this point 3 times in the review. Just use a synonym. And I will talk about what makes this figure nice. But what I do want to talk about kind of at the top is what the figure doesn't do all that great, because I can't really show it. Right out of the box, I almost got knocked out. It had a very, very strong odor to it. The best way to talk about it is a plasticky, oily smell to it. I don't know if this was made and then immediately sealed and then shipped, or the paint was still drying, or what the process was, but oh man, it was very, very strong. Also, it was very tacky. For those of you who are watching this, you're Godzilla fans, you collect stylized vinyls like marmots or whatnot, and you know that sort of tackiness. Imagine that, but I would say times 5. That's kind of what we're talking about here. So again, I can't demonstrate that, but I wanted to talk about that. What I can demonstrate is if you compare this to sort of the prototype pictures, if you will, the promotional pictures, the detailing found in the wash and the paint applications don't quite transfer over as well to the actual production of the figure. The wash is rather heavy-handed and it doesn't quite match up 1-to-1. And also on mine, for the main body on his nice big metal pot belly, like respects like their Mechagodzilla, I like what you got going on, we do see what is sometimes found in figures to be sort of crack lines from the molding process. Not necessarily flash marks, so to speak, where you often find that to be the point of mold injection and so forth, but we see these little cracks. I'm not quite sure what they are, and we'll take a look at those in a second. Now, I've sort of talked about the negatives. Let's talk about the positives. Ready Player One Mechagodzilla. No company is really going to touch this with a 10-foot pole. We haven't seen one in the SH Monster Arts lineup. We factually have not seen one from NECA. Super 7, will they touch it? Who knows? Can't predict the future. X Plus, no. Sideshow, more than likely not. It's a Ready Player One Mechagodzilla action figure. Quite frankly, whatever we're going to get, it's going to be good. Now, the actual sculpted detail here is great. The only small issue that I've had in regards to quality control is that one of the tubes on the neck did happen to pop out. But to be honest, that's just a little bit of glue that didn't happen to set properly. I can take care of that on my own. It's not a big issue. I do think that they could have nailed some more of the reds that were used from the actual movie, from the CGI model, but hey, if you want to customize it, you can do that yourself. So I guess I would say maybe it's a little bland, but quite frankly, I'm okay with what we are seeing here for the finished product. Now, it's not a clean figure, which actually is in this figure's benefit. Why? Because when we see it in the movie, it's on the battlefield. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be clean. So we do see that wash, that sort of dry brushed effect throughout different parts of the figure, which that black on the silver comes out to work in its favor. So even though it doesn't match up with the prototype, it does look like they used a different technique. It still does look good. So yes, there are some negatives here, mostly what seem to be, well, affecting your senses and in the actual production of the figure, but overall, this is very nice and captures the model pretty well, I would say. Okie dokie, articulation. Remember what I said at the beginning about how this kind of gives off NECA vibes? Yeah. All right, so jaw opens and closes on a hinge. Pretty straightforward. Very nice. The head actually plugs into this section of the neck on a ball joint. Can look up about that far, down about that far. We can rock the head a little bit, twist and turn it from side to side. Not too much though, because the sculpt gets in the way, but it is what it is. And then this section of the neck, be careful of the tubing there, is plugged in on a ball joint as well, so we can get some rocking around. Not a whole lot of range of movement, but when you combine it with this section as well, which does have a little better range of movement, which can, in typical Mechagodzilla fashion, you can rock it forward and back a little bit. You can push it. It feels like a barbell style ball joint. Yeah. And you can twist it and turn it from side to side. The dorsal plates are very spiky, especially the center row, so it can be hard to get a good grip on this guy. The missiles, which we'll talk about in a second, are plugged in on pegs, so they do swivel. Very good. Shoulders are on ball joints. Rather tight, but that's fine. We'll take a look at what ball joints this guy uses in a second. So that's good. We do actually have bicep swivels, so that's good. Good range of movement. Single hinge elbows. Now, wrists. I'm going to move this one just because it's easier to move on mine. We do have hinges, and then the hands plug in. Very easy to pop this one off on ball joints, which have little bumps on them, which that helps friction and to keep the joints on. I say, after just saying that this hand is easy to pop off. And there we go. All right. So, hips, they are on ball joints. Easy to move. We can actually push them up and drop them down just a little bit. We do have, single hinge knees. Okay. And then down here at the shin calf area, we do have another hinge. Pretty cool. Now, we do have ball jointed ankles, so we can get ankle rocker movement. We can push the feet forward and back a little bit as well. This one is a bit difficult to move on mine, but c'est la vie. Now, something to keep note, I had to use a lot of heat to get those ball joints to move. These little toesies are on thin connectors for plastic, so be careful not to stress them and break them. Also, when you go to move the ball joints in the ankles, these joints in the legs are rather thin, and you don't want to put undue pressure on them where you're going to shear them off. They also tend to get loose, in particular the knee joint over here on mine is starting to get loose, so something to keep in mind. Ball jointed tail, where it plugs in, and we do actually have 2 other points of articulation on the tail where there is a ball joint. Pretty cool. So not a whole lot of movement though, but it is what it is. So the articulation, it's not all that great, but we can get Mechagodzilla into some fun poses. Now for accessories, what do we have? Well, I'm going to grab something here. We do have, like I made mention, the missiles. They do come separately attached, so you can pop them off. Here's what Mechagodzilla, see, it's loose, looks like without those missiles. By default, I just keep them on. Whoa, yeah. Just because that's kind of how he looks in the movie. So they're easy to pop on and pop off. They are designated left and right, but they look the same. Now, when this was available for sale, it came with a Mechagodzilla breath effect, which oddly enough has a hollowed out hole here. So not quite original, but you can tell by the teeth markings and the general shape. And it came in either blue or red. Now, I believe technically the blue is going to be more accurate to the design. In the promotional pictures, it shows that this can just fit in the mouth just fine, but there's no hole. So I guess? I don't know. Then the instructions. Boy, doesn't that look very familiar. So, anyway, articulation and accessories, yeah, they're fine. I mean, if we could get some sort of like missile effect, that'd be pretty cool. I mean, yes, we do actually get the missiles, but it is what it is. It's a nice display piece on its own, and the breath effect, it could be better. I'm sure with some third-party accessories or even some Bandai effects, we can get better than this here. That doesn't even really fit in his mouth, but hey, on its own, it's still pretty good for the price. Now we'll go ahead and move right on over to a size comparison so you can see just how big this behemoth is. And yes, this is quite the big boy. So if you're thinking about putting this on your shelf, tail-wise, it's pretty long. I would definitely say that we're approaching, let me go ahead and put it up to mine. Yes, we are about bigger than a foot. And it is going to be about as tall as the NECA King Kong. Whew. Yeah, close to the 8-inch mark. So buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. When these were available for sale on AliExpress, about 50 bucks. eBay, 100. So kind of pick your poison. At the time of this review, they are sold out, but I have heard that more should be going up soon. Not at the same sources I talked about at the top of this video. Now, with that being said, ultimately, is this worth the purchase? 1, Lucky made it. Cool. Awesome. It's a nice figure. We're probably never going to get a Monster Arts, a NECA, a Playmates, maybe Super 7, who knows. But for what we have here, it's nice. Is it perfect? No. Quality control can definitely be improved throughout the design of the figure. But hey, for what we get, definitely it is nice. Not Monster Arts, not NECA. Well, close. Not Super 7. Not X Plus, but you know what? I'm pleased with what we have. Well, collectors, that brings us to the end of the video today, and I just wanted to take a second to thank you so much for watching. Now, you've heard a lot from me. I'd like to hear a little bit from you. Drop in the comments down below whether or not you liked it, you hated it, or maybe you were somewhere in between. I also want to take an extra second here for a nice, humongous thank you to all the patrons for SDR over the last month who have really helped the channel grow into what it can be today. So to all of you, 2 big thumbs up. Thank you very much. And now the end card should be popping up, which will give you a few clickable links, like maybe to subscribe or head on over to my Patreon, or some short URLs like to my social media or to my Teespring store. There's also a video I hand selected for you, so if you want to watch another STR video, I hand selected some good content for you to watch, so definitely check out that video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.